Yeah, good morning, everyone. You are welcome to the Benin Empire Advancement League, the home of all the Benins. And with me today is our Honorable Vice President, Mr. Joe Maui Orukbe. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Hope you had a wonderful week, sir.
Yeah,
It's a new week.
it was a rainy week, There's no sun, and we are just waiting for the sun to come back.
We thank God. Okay, it's a new week, and I hope this new week brings so much achievement for every one of us. And Mr. President, we just deliberate on some issues that happened last week, and
Yes.
some of the issues that we've been talking about. It's taking a new turn. There's a new turn of events, and I wanted us to just, um, deliberate on them and give a piece of advice to our people, so that we can all move forward, in one accord. Okay, I think one of the issues, we've been talking about the energy and all that.
Exactly.
We I think during the week I stumbled on a press interview where we had all the NEJs involved come out to address the press, and where most of them said they were misled and all that, and sought the clemency from the Oba of Benin. I wanted us to discuss that this morning. In discussing that, I was wondering, how many of these NEJs are actually educated, you know, and what are the things that were put in place for them if they were not educated to, liaise with the people. Who do they have secretaries? Do they have clerks? How do they, peruse legal documents that are presented to them? These are just things that you know, I have sat down and I'm looking at all these things. We need to look at this whole issue, from a broader perspective, so that we can clearly, address the root cause of this issue. Because one of the things we have failed to do as Benins is not addressing the root cause of so many of the problems that has been bedeviling the kingdom for decades and centuries. So I think this is an opportunity again for us to actually look deeply, and understand the thing. So, Mr. President, I want you to, address this issue.
Okay. Once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Honorable Vice President. Yes, as you were saying, or were saying, the issue with the Enogis came up this week, sending an apology and also an appeal to the Omo N'Oba of Benin to please forgive them for what they did. You know, I will say this: the root of all these things is just a simple, should have been a simple thing that should have not even happened. You know, when you give birth to a child, you teach him so many things, but in real life, it is left for him what he will do with his life. But in the issue of the Enoge about the education and all that, most of them are not well educated, and also many of them have secretaries. They had advisors, you know. But you can advise somebody, and it's also left for him to take the decision himself, you know.
Mm.
And most of these Enoges, I would say, doesn't really listen to their people. They choose some certain set of people from the community which they are listening to. And most of these people have bad influence on them as well. You know, I believe if this Enike should have come up with this letter to the palace of the Oba of Benin at the beginning before they send it to the governor, there should have been a solution. There should have been a solution, because all I know that all these Enikes, they are not receiving uh, the monthly salary they are supposed to be receiving according to the state law. They are not even recognized as king in their domain, you know. And this is one of the reasons. And I believe if they should have come up to the palace, there should have been a police. There should have been a simple solution to that. They should have given more power, and the Oba of Benin would have called the governor and explained things to him. It's very simple. It was a very, very simple issue. But
Mr. President, sorry, can I cut you there? I cited a letter that was addressed to the governor and was copied to the palace, and I cited the stamp of the secretary of the palace. I think it was of the palace, but I think it was signed by the secretary. I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to dig out that letter again. But I think I cited a letter, where this issue was addressed. So I don't know if that letter existed. Based on what I have seen, how did this whole situation, spiral out of hand? Because for me, if the letter was addressed to the governor and the palace had an understanding or had a knowledge of this letter, what's happened? Because there seemed to be, did we have a stalemate, or was it that the palace was upset the letter went out without consultation to the palace, without consultation with the palace, and decided, okay, you guys do your thing? Or was the letter to the palace an afterthought? Because for me, the letter exists. I know of a fact that the letter exists.
Yes, the letter exists. As a Benin person, we have a tradition. And as a Nogi, if you are sent out to any community, or if your forefathers have been rolling over any community, there is a protocol that is used to follow. Letter is not among the protocols that is followed by the Benin Empire. The door of the palace is open to any of the Enogi 24 hours if they are having any issues in their community, even private issues. Sometimes the palace have to step in to rule over it. When your son is trying to talk to you, and instead of talking to you, send you a letter, then you will understand that there's something wrong, very, very, very wrong in the relationship. Okay, let's take the issue of Ogiegman. Ogiegman should be also addressed as a king. The Oba of Benin is the emperor, or preside over everything. But if you are a king, you have to act like a king. The Oba of Benin doesn't write a letter to any of those people. When there is anything to be done in the Benin Empire, we have messengers. The Enoges have messengers also who will go to the palace on their behalf to negotiate any issues. Likewise, the Oba of Benin will never send a letter to any of the Enoge or Eniges. This letter was just a formality to inform, just to inform the palace that this is what we are doing, And when the table is set, everything is done. It's just to inform the Oba of Benin, okay, this is what we are doing, If they should have come from the beginning, I believe there would have been a very, very simple solution to all this problem. Most of these Enogies would have been elevated to other positions. The issue, what really pissed the palace off, I believe, is the issue that they were informed through a letter. And that is not the normal protocol of the Benin Empire or in the palace. Everything that is being done in the palace, because I'm talking from experience, is from eye to eye, person to person, person. It's not through a letter, When the Oba is sending you to a community, it doesn't send you with a letter. Send you as a person to the community to administer over that community. And Oba Benin will send his people from the palace to go there to the communities, to inform the communities, to allow them to know this is what is going on, and this is what we are going to be doing in the community. And they will also be seeking the community support to do such a thing. But what our Benin, some of our Benin Enoges did was not according to the protocol of the Benin Empire. And that was very, very wrong of them. There's no Benin Enoge that bewares for himself that we send a letter to the palace. You never do that. If you watch very carefully the past few days, everybody or any person that is seeking something from the palace always go there directly to the palace to seek for permission. Nobody send a letter to the palace and be waiting for results. It doesn't function that way. And then people should not be comparing the Benin tradition with the present government. They have nothing in common.
But Mr. President, also, yes, they have nothing in common, but let's not forget that the governor presides over the affairs of Edo State, has a legal backing, legal authority to decide who is going to be elevated or who is not going to be elevated.
No, sir.
Because I have, well, Mr. President, if you look at the Constitution, there is a Commissioner of Chieftaincy Affairs, and by the Constitution, he has the power, you understand, to determine who is a first-class king, who is a second-class king. You see, that's because I had actually written a piece on my Facebook page to address this issue. These are fundamental issues that are wrong.
People always forget one thing. The Benin tradition has nothing to do with the government. Sending out Enoges is the duty of the Oba of Benin, not the duty of the governor or the Edo State Constitution.
Well, Mr. President,
no, sir. We have to differentiate. Any Enoge that is nominated today.
I understand you. That's we are making a cultural argument, but I am making a legal argument.
Yes.
The legal argument is this: that even the throne, by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, how illegal it may be, is under the affairs of Edo State and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is one. You see. Then, secondly, who pays this Enoges is the state. Who pays the Oba is the state. You understand? So we are looking at two issues clashing. We're looking at the historical and cultural issues, and we are looking at the legal issues clashing. You understand? And that is where I have made a point that we as a people should go back and talk to our senators and House of Representatives in the National Assembly to change that part of the law that puts traditional rulers under the state governors, because it should be the other way around. And I'll give you an example. If you look at Ghana, for instance, the laws in Ghana says that the land belongs to the chiefs, to the stool. They call them stool lands. So you notice that if the government of Ghana wants to do anything tomorrow, the government of Ghana goes to the traditional ruler. For instance, the Asante Hene, or my uncle, for instance, if you want to do anything in Ho, you understand. Now, if you want to do anything in any of the lands that's owned by the Anglos, you have to also go and see the traditional head. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we see a situation whereby the law of Nigeria has usurped the authority of the traditional rulers and has placed it in the hands of career politicians. That is why we have so many of the problems we have, where traditional rulers cannot speak up because they are scared that they will be dethroned. We've seen issues. Don't forget, Mr. President, there was an issue when Oba Kezwa was an Oba. We had this military man, the military administrator,
yeah,
who tried to embarrass the Oba. After that, again, Oba Riadawa, we had the same issue.
yes.
You understand? And now we are having the same issue. We had the same issue with Oshiomhole when he expelled the Ojuromi of Uromi.
Yeah.
You understand? And that is why I have told people we need to look at this thing from a larger point of view. We need to broaden our perspective. We need to see clearly, or else we expel this set of energies, we put another set, another leader comes, another politician comes, who is not well, grounded in the cultures and tradition of the Benin Empire. And we will still have the same problem. And it will always come up every 4 years. That's where I am trying to call our attention to the real issues. Mr. President, everything you have said is very right. Everything everybody has said on this matter is very right.
Yes, sir.
But it's legally incorrect.
Yes.
Legally. They are wrong.
You are also right in the whole affairs. I did a broadcast about almost a year ago. I was talking about this issue, the legal issue. When you receive your salary from somebody, you're always loyal to that person, because without that person, your food will not come to the table. And then we have seen this time after time, during the time of Oba Akinzwa, as you said, what Awolowo was doing in that period also. And we also know about few other governors who were also doing the same thing. The Benin Empire was amalgamated, or was joined to Nigeria,
Yes.
without proper guidance, just to say the fact. When during that period, when the Benin Empire was joined with the Nigeria, the king, which was the Omo N'Oba of Benin, was the ruler of the Benin Empire. And this is where the mistakes started. The British, who did that, refused to acknowledge that the Oba of Benin is the ruler of the Benin Empire. That is where everything started. But the British had long left Nigeria, and this is where our people always make the mistake. We like convenience and all that. If anything doesn't happen, we doesn't react. So this is where Nigeria should have reacted easily, to say, okay, our kings, they are our rulers. We have been living with them. They have been ruling us day in and day out, before the British came in, before the Portuguese came in, before the French and others came to Africa, But we refuse, because of personal profit, because of personal benefit, because of power, Because once you have power over other people, you can always control them with fears and all that,
Yeah, but Mr. President, can I also say something, sir? Sorry to cut you, based on what you're saying.
Yes.
You could recall that in 1957, there was a traditional rulers conference that had all the traditional rulers in Nigeria come together in that conference. We had our Oba represented, he represented the kingdom in that conference. Now, we did not see them take a stand, a categorical stand, that no, we want our power back. We want our territory back. If we are going to rule this country, the politicians have to be under our authority and not above us. What I thought they did at that time was try to rub the back of the politicians, which I felt is the cause of these problems today. Because you see, if you look at after 1957, this 1963 issue, 64 issue, you realize that the Prime Minister of Western Region at that time, the Premier of Western Region, Awolowo at that time, had so much authority that he had to, dethrone an Alaafin and sent him to another how do I put it now? Another state, though there was no state at that time. You understand? But had to send him away from his area of influence. And we saw almost the same pattern, though he didn't do it confrontationally this time. He tried to use, other underhand tactics to undermine the Benin throne. And how did he do that? By causing some sort of division amongst the Benin people and the Shekiri people. We saw that. And we are still having that division till today. That is why you see the Oni of Ife thinks he has some influence on the Shekiri people. So when there's an issue in Shekiri, you understand, the former Atuwashi Ogiame one would head to the Oba of Benin. But you have this Ogiame that does not even, probably is not well cultured, would run to Ife. But you could see that these are as a result of political interferences, from the political class. You understand? So I think in addressing this issue, we need to first go back to 1957, at least, and ask the traditional rulers, how did you allow, what did the politicians ever tell you people that allowed you people cede, authority to them? Because that is where the issues are.
So if I have to come in, if you listen very carefully to my statement, I said, yes, when somebody has power over you, he can at any time be threatening you. The British, although some politicians were there representing Nigeria's as a nation Nigeria, to be a nation Nigeria, and at the same time there were some kings who were already dethroned by the British. Exactly. The Oba of Benin wasn't dethroned, but he was taken to Calabar. He was no longer ruling Benin at that period.
He was exiled.
Yeah. And the British was fully in control. Our kings have to come to a compromise with the British, not fully demolishing the kingship in Nigeria. They have to come to a compromise with him. They have to accept some certain terms. And the terms they accepted was just, let me say, a figure, a figure. You stand there, when we push you, you move. When we say come back, you come back. That is what they did. The British doesn't want any king to stand in Benin or to stand in Oyo or others area before during that time, because they believe very much at that period that they will rise again and they could be a threat to them. And that is one of the reasons, And they also employ some of our politicians, well-paid politicians like Awolowo and others, to bring all these issues, to fulfill all this assignment for them. And they did the job very well. It's like if our Oba has anything to say that period, they will always threaten. If you don't do what we say, then we will remove you. And that power was given to them, to do that. The kings we were having, they have to make some compromise, unwillingly, to make sure they remain in power, to govern over their people, because they saw something coming to Nigeria that period, something the politicians were trying to bring to Nigeria, because the British will always say they are bringing civilization to Nigeria, bringing civilization to any country or to any land. You have to first of all erase completely how these people were living before. And this is what they were trying to do with us. And they did it in some ways perfectly, inciting some things into our brain, telling us our system is the best system. And this belief, we can still see it in well-educated people in our society today, who doesn't respect our kings, who will go down to Britain and bow down for the queen or to the king,
Exactly.
When they come to our palace, they will be stretching hand. But once they go back to Britain, they will be kneeling down to the Queen. You see, there's something we cannot really blame our kings that they didn't do enough that period. Our politicians, they should have stand and say, we have our tradition, we have our institutions already. This is where we want to be. But they refuse. They choose the pattern of the British, unknowingly that the British Queen or the British King at that time was still in full control of the British Empire. You know, everything that was about our kingships and others was demonized that period. From the beginning to slave trade and all that, of which didn't really happen, you know, in our kingdom. They were trying to paint everything in that kingdom black. You know, when I say black, don't mistake me for that.
Yes, I
They were
understand.
trying to
I
demonize
understand.
everything. You know,
Everything,
so
yes.
our forefathers, they were only trying to play along to make sure they survive in some ways. You know, and you know, when during the time of Babangida, Abacha, and others, we were also having these issues. Most of the kings, most of the paramount chiefs, if I should call it so, all of them, most of them were sent to jail. You know, if they aired their voice, you know, most of them were jailed. You know, so there are so many things that was really going on. As you said before, we as people from Edo State, for example, we can come up and say, okay, we don't want our kings to be under the state government again. You know, there are people who are elected to be doing that, but they are not doing that because of personal profit also, because they need power, because they don't need anybody who will be telling them, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. You know, that is one of the issues. Because I believe if this issue should come up in the House of Assembly for the beginning, you know, for the beginning, and they ratify this, and we have a confrontation with them, I believe we will have at least 80 out of 100 of this representative who will vote positively. But nobody will be bringing that issue because most of these governors, most of these representatives, they will be losing their powers also, you know. So that is what I believe one of the reasons. But I'm not 100% sure of what will happen. But I believe if we all come up to say, okay, this is what we want, they cannot deny it. You know, they cannot deny what we want because they are voted in to represent us. So this is all I have to say about that very right now. And the
Thank
issue of Inogis, you know, is very, very complex because if you look at the custom and tradition of the Benin Empire, the Inogis are being chosen from the palace. Because although we have a state government and the state governor, the system of the Benin Empire government is still functioning locally. Because if you are sent to as a Nogi to any community, you have a title of a governor. To say the fact, is equivalent to the title of a governor to go and govern over some certain area of the kingdom. But this today, although the government is paying their salaries, but without the signature of the Oba of Benin, their salary will not be paid. Also, you know, this is what people should know fully. Without the signature of the Oba of Benin, their salary will not be paid because you need to be appointed. Because you cannot just come up and say, okay, I'm not a Nogi. You know, some of them are hereditary, but you still have to be approved by the palace. You know,
you,
so
Mr. President.
thank you too.
But
So
I still want to just add some few whatever to this whole raging issue, because for me, I'm more of a practical person, and I have looked at the whole issue critically, the best way I can, and we as a people just need to tell ourselves the plain truth. We have to look at the realities, and the realities is that the traditional ruler in Edo State as it is today is under the authority of the Edo State government. That is
yes,
the reality. The second reality is that there would always be a divided loyalty. The Oba of Benin is the one that appoints the Enogies, but the Oba of Benin is not the one that pays the Enogies. He who pays the piper will dictate the tune. So that's another reality that we also, as people, need to sit down, address, and come up with a solution and present this solution to the governor. Another reality. Maybe we would have looked at a situation where the Oba of Benin shares constitutional authority side by side with the governor as a first step, so that the Oba of Benin will not be seen as being under the authority of the Edo State governor, but rather will be seen as co-equal for a start with the Edo State government. So any governor who is coming in understands that the Oba is not beneath you. Rather, the Oba has ceded some of his authority so that you can do certain things on behalf of the king. So if we are saying, for instance, politicians would not want to be under their traditional kings, okay, don't be under the traditional king, but you must share power. We should have, you see, I have always said that we need to move away from talking and providing solutions. Everything I've seen on social media space, everything I've seen on the media, television and radio, even the print media, no one seems to have come up with a solution. Everybody is just fighting. Yeah, you betray the king, you do this, you do that. We will keep doing this thing for the next 600 years.
yes,
Because even before the British came, we had people undermine the authority of the king.
yes, exactly,
And
sir.
the reason why the British could do what it did was because the British had that understanding that people undermined
Exactly,
the authority of the king. You understand? So this thing has always existed. We just keep pretending, and our pretense is what is costing us. So we
exactly,
need
sir.
to move. We need to move beyond these energies, because
Yes,
the energies is just one of the so many people or so many how do I put it now? Entities in Edo State that undermine the king. We have
yes,
entities in Edo State who are transporting Benin to Libya, to Europe for prostitution, for forced labor. That is in itself is undermining the king.
exactly.
We have corporate organizations who come into Edo State, meet people, usurp land, do anything they like without even informing the king. That in itself, again, it's undermining the king.
Exactly, sir.
We ourselves has created the enabling environment where people can just come into Edo State or come into the Benin Empire territory and undermine the king.
You know,
Our religious leaders are undermining the king,
exactly.
because when
Also,
they stand in their pulpit to say that our practices are fetish, are demonic, that in itself is undermining the king. You see, and I said this thing. I was talking to a friend. I said you'll be surprised that if we do a vote today, majority of Edo people will say they don't want kingship. I am telling you,
yes,
Mr. President.
I
You
know
know why?
that.
Because majority of them are Christians and Muslims, and they think that the kingship in Edo State is fetish, but the kingship in England is not fetish.
No.
You can see how we think as a people. So we need to reorientate our people first before we even make any further step, because this junction we are right now, if we try to do anything, we are going to sink further.
Exactly.
Because the people have been programmed to rebel against the culture and tradition of their fathers through Western education and through the import of Christianity and Islam. So if we do not reorientate these people, they themselves are going to be willing tools in the hands of the detractors. And that is why I have said, when I have, I had one or two back and forth with a couple of people who felt, oh, you are taking sides with the energies. I am not. I look beyond that. Because
yes.
I don't think the energies are the problem. I think there is a system in place that would always make sure this kind of rebellious actions come where it's said again. There's a system in place. And if we do not dismantle that system and put in place our own kind of system, we will expel all these energies. A new set will come, they will still do the same thing.
Yeah.
When the Christians go to when the Christians go to England, they respect the king of England. But when those same Christians come back home, they disrespect the king of Benin. It clearly shows us that there's something fundamentally wrong with us as a people.
Yes, sir. That is very, very correct. Huh?
The white man did not bring civilization to Africa. Africa was already civilized. The white man brought its own kind of civilization, which is Western civilization. And I've always told my people, if you think the white man brought civilization, what are they doing in Sudan? What are they doing in Egypt? What are they doing in some parts of Africa where they are digging up all sorts of things? What are our artifacts doing in Europe? These are evidence of our own civilization. These are evidence. The evidence is abounds. It's out there in the public space. We just choose to shut our eyes. The only time we see it is when the white man says something.
Exactly.
And that is where we have a problem. And that is why I have always said that cultural activists are part of the problem, because they are the ones who sit down on social media and incite a section against another section. And you see, when you incite the people against the energies, and the energies are actually working for certain people behind the scene, what you're actually doing is you are not attacking the energies, you are attacking those people who are using the energies, who are behind the scene. And those people also would want to show that they have some form of authority. Then they begin to undermine our king that you, cultural activists, claim you are protecting. Then we are back to square one. So all this time we are using to fight and shout on social media, we should have expended our energy on reforming the thoughts of our people. We should have expended our energy on enlightening our people. We should have spent time to make our people understand that there is nothing fetish about cultural practices. Because in fact, everything we practice today that we think it's Western civilization is actually the practice, the cultural practices of the Westerners.
Exactly, sir.
If you think that Africans always shed blood, that this, that, they are fetish, they are this, it clearly shows that you are not grounded in Western history. The Europeans actually engaged in blood sacrifices.
Yes, Inquisition.
They engaged in human sacrifices. They engage in human sacrifices.
Even more than we Africa
More than we
did.
Africans. They are actually much more superstitious than we Africans. And I've always told people that in the African society, we had those who were worshiping God through deities, and we had those who were worshiping God directly. And the king of Benin is the priest of those who were worshiping God directly.
Yes.
The church of the Arusa temple is a clear evidence to the effect that before the British came, we had a temple where we were worshiping God directly, without deities, without intermediaries. So we need to work more as cultural activists to actually tell our people the truth. Because what our people, we are living a lie. And you know, Mr. President, when a lie is repeated 1,000 times,
Become
it now
truth.
seems to be the truth. And
Yes.
that is what is going on. You understand? And that is what we need to do as cultural activists, Mr. President. I think I'd say on this matter.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if I should just add a little bit, we as an organization, we have from the beginning, we have been trying to bring uh, forwards to our people our experience in life, and also to allow them to understand why we are doing what we are doing. You know, we are not just doing it because we want to be online. We want to do a sort of educative show, to our people. As you said, I'm also in so many uh, African organization, African groups. We have the same issue. The issue is not just Nigeria or Benin alone, but if I'm allowed to be the president of Nigeria today, the first thing I will do, elevate our king, that they have almost 75% of the power, take over the constitution of the land. Because today we can still see in our society, in our communities, the Enoges, the Ohens, the Odionwere, they are doing absolute good job with the power of the Oba of Benin. But when it's come to respecting our tradition, we always have this excuse, I don't want to support because I'm a Christian. And you don't want to do this because you're a Christian. You don't want to do that because you're a Muslim. That is just a lazy excuse. The British you are talking about have their tradition and culture. They respect it out of Christianity, out of whatever it is. Any country in Europe today, they have their tradition which has been existing. Demonizing our own culture, our own tradition is you are demonizing yourselves. That is the fact. Because you originated from this culture. And when you said the Benin culture or the Benin tradition, they are serving idols, what are you then serving? Is this not also idol? You read a book that is written by somebody. You have a status of the Mary Magdalene or Jesus, which you are praying to day in and day out. What is then the difference between both of them? The difference is that this one is from the black man and the other one is from the white man. And if you think you are doing good to yourself, go to England today without visa and tell them you are a Christian if they will allow you in. The Israel you are talking about, that you call it a Christian land. Actually, Israel is not the Christian land. It's not even a holy land, to say the fact. We have to be saying there are so many things people need to know about themselves. And as the vice president was saying, we have to elevate our Oba. so that they have more power, at least 75% of the power from the Constitution of Edo State. Because the issue of the Enogie we have been discussing time and time out, actually in the form is legal for them. But according to Benin tradition, it's also against Benin tradition, because no Benin son or daughter talk to his father through a letter when he's in the same state with him. You know? And I will appeal to the palace and to the Omo N'Oba of Benin to accept their sons back to the palace. That is my appeal. But there also should be a sort of sanction, a sort of advice for these Enoges, because when something happens today, something will also happen tomorrow. There have to be a proper guidelines or a proper execution of the protocols that guide the Benin Empire, so that the people will understand fully why they are Enoge and why their duty as Enoge. That they have a representative duties also, you know. And there are so many other issues that need to be discussed. They should have the Nogies, all of them should come down to the palace and have a sort of conference. Sit down with the Omo N'Oba of Benin, sit down with other palace chiefs, the Uzamas and others, and iron out the whole issues. Because, as I always said, you give birth to a child, but when the child is a bad child, you can never kill them, because it's a bad child. All you will be doing is to pray to soften his heart so that he doesn't commit more havoc. You know? And our Omo N'Oba also understand that. That is why you never see him curse anybody, rather than to pray for him. And today I'm going to also praise the governor of Edo State for all he has been doing, especially when it comes to the issue of this traditional ruler, because he didn't sign the letters or the forms that was sent to him by these Enoges. And that also shows he's not somebody who hates our tradition also, or hates the culture of the Benin, because he himself is a Benin person, also a traditional person. So we all should understand that. And at the same time, you know, we still have to praise him for stepping down in the issue of the artifact, for allowing the Oba of Benin to take the front row, take the front seat. You know, this is something we should also praise him for. And at the same time, we have developments coming to Benin City. We have the Giligili port, where the minister was in Benin a few days ago or a week ago, signed a sort of agreement to build the Giligili port. Many of you may not have heard of that or have heard of that. This is also a good development, because this is what we need. All these papers need to be signed before the new coming in of the new government, because we are going to be having problem because of what happened to Tinubu in Benin. You know, because Tinubu lost Benin, and even before then, during the re-election of Obaseki, we saw also what happened to Tinubu. I believe Tinubu is going to pay us back in some ways by blocking many of the achievements that is going to be coming to Benin. And all these achievements need to be done, the international airport, the seaport, and all that. You know, we need to do that before the coming in of the new government. Sign this bill before any other thing. And there are so many other issues that we are supposed to be discussing. The development of our state, and how we are going to make our state an autonomous state out of Nigeria. Because when we look at Nigeria today, because we are feeding Nigeria, Nigeria is not feeding us. And most of the development that is coming out of Nigeria are always diverted to the Yoruba side and to the Igbo side, of which they always misuse all this, you know, upon all the states that was created out of the East, the West. You can still see them strongly today because of mismanagement. When people are talking about Obi was a governor. He managed his state, you know. We have to be saying the truth. When you shout, it doesn't represent the truth. There's no how you can paint something that is bad to be the truth. You know? So we all should learn, you know, how to respect each other. And today, we are also appealing to the palace to accept the apology of the Enoges. We are also appealing to so many of our people today who feel offended about some of our brothers who came out to broadcast, who brought this issue to social medias. Now, they have been invited to stay CID and all that. I believe this should have not been the case, to say the fact, because this person did nothing wrong. And I believe the lawyer also should go back and withdraw his petition against this person, which I don't want to be mentioning names here also. I believe as an adult person, we should be helping each other to stand up, not to bring each other down. If the palace should address or allow these Enoges to come back, that should be also one of the compromise that should be made. Any case, any issue against our idol son in the state CID or whatever it is must also be brought down. And they should be one of the key issues that need to be discussed and others. And I believe people who reason very well these allegations against our son is also completely wrong, because he did nothing wrong. And when you say it's inciting violence, you know, inciting violence is just to say the fact. You cannot incite somebody to be violent unless that person wants to be a violent person. And that is just the issue. All others are morally incorrect, to say the fact. So before I leave, I will still have to play, I need still to play this video from the Enoge, so that those people who haven't seen this video will listen to them very carefully and look at it.
Months ago, some Enigi, known as dukes in Edo State, embarked on an alleged rebellion cause against the palace of the Oba of Benin by plotting to constitute their own councils in the 7 local government area of Edo South Senatorial District. Their secret became exposed, with some of them going to the press to denounce any of such moves. This set of Enigi, who are now remorseful after allegedly plotting against the palace of the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Oba Ewa II, have visited the palace to plead for mercy and to reaffirm their loyalty and dedication to the throne of the Oba of Benin. The Enigi, one after the other, namely His Royal Highness Osayende Godwin Aigbe, Enoge of Ukiri, His Royal Highness Igbineni Kao, Emigadoma, the Enoge of Amagba, Akengbuda, His Royal Highness Ogiesoba Sylvester, the Enoge of Ogwa in Poboha local government area, His Royal Highness Ogiayewo na Evaini Kao, Enoge of Ikpia, His Royal Highness Orobosa Robert Enoge of Isiere, His Royal Highness Igbinige Omoya Bwegie Enoge of Obozogbe in Oriomo local government area, His Royal Highness Osaigbovo Okumbo Enoge of Ukiriere Sonye, His Royal Highness Victor Yahweh Enoge of Obazagbon, His Royal Highness Osaro Omoege Enoge of Uselunaho, His Royal Highness Igbineni Kao Ehosuei Enoge of Uka, His Royal Highness Ogiesoba Igbinovia, His Royal Highness Kingsley Ogiesoba, His Royal Highness Anthony Osayemere Osaigi Enoge of Umegbe, His Royal Highness Stephen Avabwan Enoge of Ewomoma, His Royal Highness Edorodion Osarobo Enoge of Idogbo, His Royal Highness Akenzwa Ileruwa Enoge of Orobagase. They said they did not fully understand the content of the letter before they appended their signature on their tender's sheet and pledged for leniency from His Royal Majesty Oba Ewa II, just as they pledged their loyalty to the Oba of Benin.
Daddy, the governor, many clinics cannot be madam, no, they cannot back to that. Number
to be not many. I am a boy. Everything you know, Bobo.
Don't live on a camera more way. Match sign, but my mind no me. Negualao. No happy me. No happy man.
Obama, in my God, they buy on Yan. Obama, you know, Bobo.
They never need so many. Really, not to last if you're not a moment, no loud. No joke, you might be my mind or my Sarah. You might live on doing here. You might no loud. A man said, may I be my equa. I might keep on. I need that with my own back. If you are being for your no loud. You go live on time. Very much. Oba no get everywhere. You viens pas dans la roue. Quelqu'un m'a dit là où la prima.
Et que là c'est fena. Il y a mot. À quoi le gouvernement y est. Au moins c'est là. Manibo, mara amo pobe. Et puis ni na ben. Mana douvi. Je vis au gay ouais mais non qu'est-ce ouais quoi le gouvernement. Au moins c'est là. Man du leg maintenant avec deux mérima. Là où. Non ya bima. Mérima. Mérite tout ya.
Et puis là avec les gars. Et on va I said, we can marry you after that. Be Manuda, about you know, Rimayagbe.
So if you listen very carefully, you will see that most of these our Enoki are misguided and are not well educated about the Benin tradition and so on. But notwithstanding, they are still our leaders. They need to be corrected in so many forms. And I'm appealing to the palace and to the Oba of Benin to please welcome his children back to the palace, because he is their father and he decide how things should be going on from this period. And at the same time, I want to appeal to those in Enoge. If I could do that, I could have do this in person with them, sit down with them, talk with them. But I doesn't have the ability as of this moment. You know, if there is anything you have in heart, when you go to the palace, as you all know, the palace door is always open for you people. When you people are running from your communities, also the palace that go to the community and tell their people, please, this is my son. You know, so I don't understand why people did what you people did, but I would like to understand that. But that is not the issue at hand now. The issue at hand is how to bring peace and development to our state. By doing that, our vice president, who was with me in this show, brought some issues forward and some advice what we can do. And I believe we should follow that step. the constitution of Edo State, doesn't really mean well for our traditional rulers and the leaders. I think we need to work towards that to change, make sure we change those constitutions in favor of our traditional rulers and kings. So that is very, very important, and we should be working towards that. Every Edo person who love our tradition, love the institution of the Benin monarchy, should be working towards that. And as I said, there are so many issues going on behind the scenes. There are so many developments going on behind the scenes in Edo State. We should be supporting each other, not bringing each other down. And the case and the allegation against one of our sons should also laid to rest, because it doesn't really help anybody when we are bringing each other down. So thank you very much. And that is the end of this broadcast. And thank everyone. The vice president of this organization couldn't finish because of a network issue. And I believe by the next broadcast, both of us will be online again, and we will discuss so many issues, will out of so many things that is affecting our people. So thank you very much, and have a blessed Sunday. Bye-bye.